This is all information readily available to Chief Justice John Roberts. Why do you think he does nothing except keep digging?
Well, Supreme Court is definitely, if we didn't know it before Jodi Kantor's story, we know it now. It's totally a dysfunctional family right now. But Chief Justice Roberts, for better or worse, is the head of the household, and it ultimately falls on him to rein things in. And I think frequently when we talk about the loss in confidence that this court has suffered, John Roberts sometimes gets treated as sort of an innocent bystander to that, because he's not the one going out leaking the Hobby Lobby decision to donors. That was Sam Alito. He's rarely the one that's giving chest-thumping speeches at the Federalist Society or at Mitch McConnell's center down in Louisville, Kentucky. And he even tried, as Senator McCaskill was saying, he tried to dissuade some of his colleagues from actually overturning Roe and the Dobbs decision. But this is a mess of John Roberts' own making. It was his decision to not appoint a serious outside investigator to get to the bottom of this. It was his decision to sign off on this report that contained so much sleight of hand, clearly trying to elide initially whether the justices were being treated like regular employees and whether they were actually interviewed. And then 24 hours go by and they issue a statement, a supposedly clarifying statement on Friday that further muddies the waters and tries to act like conversations were tantamount to interviews when everybody knows that they're not. You almost get the sense that John Roberts knew that this was going to encounter criticism, so they bring in Michael Chertoff in this ham-fisted attempt to make it look like this got the good housekeeping seal of approval from a serious outside lawyer. And no offense to Michael Chertoff, but he's a buddy of Sam Alito. He succeeded him as the U.S. Attorney of New Jersey. He served with him on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. So he's hardly like an independent arbiter. At the very least, you should have brought in a former Democratic and a former Republican appointee if you wanted to give some cover to this investigation. So this was really a ham-fisted attempt to shove this out there and get rid of this. And then the last thing that they do in the report is they propose all these steps to further lower the veil of secrecy on the court's activities, when what they need is more transparency. If they have any hope of restoring confidence in the institution, what they need is to have more daylight brought to this institution, have more openness, more transparency. John Roberts' instincts seem to be the opposite, and so I think this time the buck stops with him and the failure is his in terms of the eroding legitimacy of the court.
Let's stick with the head of household analogy for a minute, Brian Fallon. You worked for and reported directly to principals, right? We both have. If one of your fellow principals believes he is at risk of, quote, assassination attempts after the opinion leaks, and you're the head of the household, what is your obligation in terms of protecting the rest of the parents in the household? What do you do with the event, the leak, in Alito's words, that was going to potentially lead to the, quote, assassination of the 6 conservatives? What was Roberts, if that is true, and we have to accept that Alito's believed that and that it remained true, what should Roberts have done if that was the concern of one of the other parents or grown-ups in the household?
Carry out an investigation that, even if at the end of the day it proved impossible to solve the whodunit and actually find somebody that met the preponderance of an evidence standard, carry out an investigation that was going to be at least unassailable in how it was conducted. And from the get-go, when you appoint somebody that is basically the marshal of the court, a lawyer, yes, but not somebody with any sort of investigative chops. From the get-go, it was clear that John Roberts was putting the premium on keeping this in-house and not letting the family sort of secrets and the family dysfunction spill to the outside world, as opposed to actually trying to solve the problem and get to the bottom of what happened here. You described it, and Senator McCaskill described it well. You talk about people like Justice Thomas, talk about people like Justice Alito. These are people that had clear opportunity, clear motive to want to leak the opinion. And, last time I was on your show, Nicole, we were talking about that New York Times report about the Alito leak. That came out while this investigation was happening. Why was that not a credible lead that Sam Alito might have been the leaker in this case, too? And so the marshal puts out a statement saying there was no basis to interview the justices. That just defies belief. And it shows that the only reason you wouldn't conduct an investigation that included the justices themselves is because you're afraid of what you might find out. And in this case, Chief Justice Roberts put more of a premium on wanting to protect the court in his ham-fisted way, protect the justices themselves, and actually figure out what happened here.